a gentleman that I've been a fan of since his days at Florida State. Most folks know him across the world as Prime Time.
Talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Deion Sanders, who is leading the Jackson State football team, where they are 8-0
Talk to me.
going into this weekend's game against Texas State. He recently said on Tuesday that his players won't be allowed to leave their hotel this weekend in Houston, where they'll take on Texas State.
Texas Southern, actually.
Texas Southern, excuse me. After rapper Takeoff was shot and killed in the city. And he's quoted as saying, "I'm just sick and tired of the consistency of people that are influential to you. They're leaving us consistently. That's our rappers." And his son actually posted this video. Takeoff was murdered in a dice game in Houston where we're going. So that eliminates all of y'all leaving that hotel, because it ain't happening until I give you further notice. And so there are so many things to unpack here. I've got a few things to get us started. The first is this a head coach that's more concerned about the player's safety or winning the game? They're on a streak, and he wants this W. And could it be both? Another aspect of this is to look at there's actually more crime back home in Jackson than in Houston. So are you going to do this for home games too? Another aspect is this is nothing new. A lot of great coaches have a history of calling for a lockdown. And I'm really interested in how this phrase lockdown began, because we know that is something that is used in prison. And so the equating young black men having to be on lockdown, that's so similar to prison term and the connection there and how dangerous that could be. So I'll pause there and certainly have a lot more to pose to you all. So Deion Sanders having his players not be available to go out and enjoy the city or visit with folks. All family and friends must come to the hotel, which of course, you'll have to be admitted in security and all of that.
Well, what is he more concerned about his players or his coaches, right? I mean, the game. I think he's more concerned about his players, but also his players and what it will take for them to play in the game and be successful. And by that, I think the curfew or whatever you lock down, whatever you want to put it at, he's put in place, like you stated, it's nothing new. Teams do it all the time. Coaches do it all the time. Preparing for the Super Bowl, Final Four, you name it. It happens all the time. I think one of the things that he's probably doing is trying to, coming off of all of the media and all of the attention that's starting to build, I'm sure he's starting to see some things on his team that they're maybe becoming somewhat distracted, and I think this would just exacerbate that problem. And he's probably taking advantage of the fact that, all right, let's just slow all of this down. Let's just put a stop to this. I'm not so sure it was about – I think safety may have been a part of it, but I think I would go 70-30, 30% being safety causes and 70% being staying away from all of the attention and the focus in the media and all that stuff.
No distractions.
Distractions. Distractions.
Regardless what the crime rate is in Jackson or wherever, I think he used that moment as a teachable moment to his players, saying, "Hey guys, he was saying, we talking about our lives matter and that kind of thing, and we can shooting each other over a dice game, some crazy stuff like that." And I think he was trying to make a point that you can't be rolling with the same guys you rolled with back in the day, because those guys have different intentions than you have right now. You are trying to make your life better for you and your family moving forward, trying to be a college graduate, maybe play in the league. So he used those words, and I saw the video. That's a teachable moment. But I agree with K-Mac. He definitely cares about his players. I think it's authentic, and I think he really wants to do it that way. And of course, he wants to win too. Right. But I think first and foremost,
because they need to win.
Right.
Exactly.
And this unbelievable season, he's changed the whole landscape of HBCU world. So he's in a perfect place, and I really think that he wants to win because of that. But the players are more important to him, and he just used this as a teachable moment.
Yeah, and Takeoff was an unintentional, if you want to call it that, victim. He was accidentally shot, actually, because by someone that was at the dice game. They were two other people that had an issue, and he was accidentally shot by a straight round, if you want to call it that.
Mm.
Oh, so that's what they said.
Yeah, he wasn't the intended person.
Yeah.
And that is one of the critiques of Deion Sanders making this a decision.
Okay.
That is it an overreaction? Since it was a random incident, the shooting, is Deion labeling and being biased towards his own players? Someone had mentioned that UTEP plays Rice University this weekend in Houston as well, which both teams probably have a number of young black men on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So those coaches aren't, responding. They're not pulling the same hotel.
Those coaches
restrictions.
Rice
and then, of course, the other thought is this an indictment or a critique of black culture, as in multimillionaires playing dice? I mean, why are you playing dice? It reminds me of Michael Vick with the cockfighting. Like, why do you do this?
Right.
And Deion was quoted as saying, I don't want you all playing that foolish game, right? Because you're all valuable to your families, friends, and loved ones, and you're valuable to us. Let's think about that. Let's pray for the families. But what does this say that he is responding? Is it an overreaction? It is a random incident.
I got to jump in. I don't think it's an overreaction. And I love you like a sister, but I'm trying to see where you're going with this conversation, because I think.
I don't hold these opinions. I'm
okay. I just want to know
because that's what I do.
And you stirring the pot in my seat. Let me tell you, because I look at Deion as a leader of men. Deion is in a unique position. I don't know the coaches at Rice and UTEP or whatever, but I just know majority of people on JSU team are African Americans. Deion's an African American. He's leading those guys. It's probably a different kind of demographic associated with UTEP and Rice. So I look at it differently. And I don't think he's exploiting the habits and how we entertain ourselves, or whether they doing dice or whatever. I don't think he's exploring that. That's a situation that just happened. I don't think it happens everywhere in America. So I just I kind of push back on a couple of things that you want to stir the pot with. That's just my opinion.
So
you would be in favor of white coaches doing this for their teams as well? They do it.
I mean, you gotta be inside your doggone hotel by a certain time. Let me tell you, at the Iron Bowl, or not even Iron Bowl, when they go to these bowl games, you there a lot more than I've ever been. Championship game, that's some restrictions when they're in New Orleans. Hanging out down.
Let's be clear.
Yes.
Let's be clear. This is different from you have to be in at a certain time, as in they can't go out at all.
Yeah,
that's what's different. That's why this is newsworthy.
Did they say they can leave the hotel?
Yeah, they gotta come
they
here.
can't.
They got to come to them.
They can't leave at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm good with that too.
I was gonna say I'm kind of okay with that.
I'm good with that too.
I
Play
was
video games.
Going to say that I think is a great caveat off the conversation that we had yesterday. Sure. In that I think Deion is just being Deion, in going into his purpose of impacting these players and just trying to make sure, the lesson in that there's choices, the choices that you make, you have a lot to lose. And I think that's what, he was basically trying to get across. And we were talking about yesterday, if he was selected or if he chose to go to a Power 5, could he do this type of thing? Could he tell the players that you can't go anywhere, or would he? Right. And that's that, money over purpose. I think he's in his purpose, and I think that's to impact these players and to be able to help them go to the next level. And he was using, as Reese said, that particular moment as a teaching moment of what happens when you make different choices. You can't always, as Takeoff, be in the wrong place. He was in the wrong place. However, he got caught up, by mistake. That wasn't for him. But I think, he was just using that to say, be careful with your choices.
I didn't realize it was accidental.
He wasn't the intended.
With that being said, and we all know that Deion was certainly a free spirit and one of the greatest football players ever. Mm-hmm. How would Deion the player respond to Deion the coach?
Ooh.
Two different people. Totally.
That's a powerful question.
Deion the player, the NFL player, or Deion the college player?
Deion the player, as in college, where he was free. He dressed a certain way, the dancing, and he did some of that in the NFL. But I guess what the question is posing is, how do you let someone who needs to be himself and authentic and do all that he did on the field, would he be able to play in a system like this with Deion, the coach, this style where I'm going to make sure that I am more controlling of everything that you do for your own safety?
See,
would Deion the player rebel?
No.
Deion the player.
No, I don't think that Deion the player would rebel. Because one of the things to keep in mind is this is not uncommon, right? So this is not uncommon. This is not new. So Deion the player probably wouldn't rebel because it's not something he hasn't seen before. Just like if I would say homecoming, but other situations where coaches restrict players and
homecoming is one of them,
and curfews.
Yeah,
I mean all of these things happen right around programs. So it's not uncommon. It's not new. So I seriously doubt he would rebel in a sense that he was like, oh, this is so unfair. You're locking us down. I can't go out and party because. I know you're not telling you're not going to argue with your coach that you want to go out and party before the game.
But you know what?
You know what I mean? Because that's really what you said. Because he said your parents and your girlfriend they can come to the hotel. You can come. They can come here, right? You guys can. They can still see you. But you going out, hanging out on town, taking tours, going to the museum. No, we're not doing that.
And what's funny, Dr. Strowman, good point, K. What's funny about that question is that maybe Deion knows what Deion was like when he was in college.
Like his parents, right?
And in fact that he
not baby,
yeah, and in fact that he knows about how he was, and now he's a coach, he can look at that. And also think about this: the last 2 weeks of this season has been incredible. I mean, if you think about, of course, homecoming, which was unbelievable, the
epic.
biggest. Then college game days down there the next week.
Right.
So he's probably thinking, okay, I got to make sure I got to temper this thing down. I got to put this thing on lock because they may be thinking they walking on water or whatever. I got to reel these guys back in. So maybe that's the other point he wanted to bring. And unfortunately, the takeoff situation was a point that he can use.
Right.
Okay.
To get them focused.
To get them focused on that. Yes.
Yeah.
Try to get rid of distractions.
So Dr. Strowman, to your point about the coaches of the other teams that are in Houston that'll be playing in Houston, and I'll say it this. I'll say it very simply. Maybe those players on those teams really would appreciate their head coach and their staff acknowledging something tragic that's happened in their community that affects them. I know it doesn't affect us 50, 60-year-old people, right? I get it because we don't really know take off like that.
I didn't know.
But that's true.
That's true.
But these are 17, 18, 19-year-old young men that this is a part of their life. This is who they are.
The culture.
It means something to them, right? So, and for the fact that you just completely discount that and that you don't matter and your culture doesn't matter and things that affect you doesn't matter to your administration, to your team, to your coaches, that's probably not the right approach. I think it's a better solution to address it, to talk about it, to let your players express themselves, talk about how it's affected them, and then you can move forward. And I think what Deion did actually provided a pathway for them to be able to do some of that. And then he also gave them, some guidance a little bit about, what you should do and how you should get focused and limit the distractions getting ready for this week.
Well, I think you are certainly bringing up an important – I think it's insightful for white administrators or brown and black people who are not close to the community, that this is another way that you can coach, as in embrace the young men's culture and do things, set policies, regulations, claps and celebrations around the culture, as opposed to masking it or saying, that's not something we do here, or to restrict the young men, because, it's very clear in his quote where he said that this is influential to you.
That's right.
He recognizes that, and especially having his son there, because I'm sure, just like a lot of parents, they're informed by their children in terms of what to wear, the dances, the music, everything. I have a number of friends my age who know all the different songs and the dances. I'm like, how do you know all this? And they know it through their children, right?
Right, exactly.
They know the lyrics and, what music to put on. So
people perform better when they feel like they're in an inclusive environment, and I think it would be short-sighted on most of those schools to just completely ignore such a large population of their teams that have been probably, impacted by this situation. So,
yeah. So I'll close out by saying that I strongly encourage people to watch the 60 Minutes interview that was done about 2 weeks ago with Deion Sanders really, really tells the full story of what he's been through, his sacrifices, and of course his remarkable Hall of Fame speech, which some people say was one of the best ever. Once again, sometimes I do things that are a little crazy, like read the comments after the articles and the racist comments around Deion Sanders in this decision. Just never cease to amaze me, the hate that exists in this country, and knowing that a lot of these folks are just cowards, or there's some bots from Russia or something trying to stir the wedge, trying to develop a wedge between, all races here in this country. And then lastly, this morning, Coach Prime tweeted, "The noise in your life is a distraction to cause you to lose focus. Turn the volume down and cut off the voices of divisiveness. Pressure reveals and time kills those that pressure reveals. It's not time to lose your consistency or direction. Let's go. Hashtag Coach Prime." So let's do it, Coach Sanders. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep teaching the world about our culture and about how HBCUs is the platform, is the environment to win, to have winning football.
Wow, powerful.
Yeah,
This was awesome.
And you can always go out to YouTube and check out the Sports Yard Risa K-Mac. You get plenty of comments out there.
And matter of fact, this is going to be on YouTube later on. Trust me, Dr. Strowman.
Yes.
We may be at about 30,000 before noon. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
This is powerful.
But I appreciate you as always. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you all, how you continue to be all